Do you believe in curses? Some people might say that cursed jewelry is nothing more than a superstition, but there are plenty of stories out there to suggest that cursed jewelry exists and that it brings very bad luck to those who own those pieces. Can a pearl destroy marriage after marriage of its owners? La Peregrina, also known as the Wanderer or the Pilgrim, is the most famous pearl in the world, measuring in at more than 55 carats. It's an exquisite pear shaped pearl that's renowned for its perfect symmetry. Hi guys, welcome to my channel. It's me, your host Dr. Sene, and I did some research and reading about the La Peregrina pearl, and I'd like to share with you some of the things I found out. There's a belief in the world that this pearl is cursed. The pearl has a history of 500 years and is notorious for being cursed. Owners of the pearl have suffered through sad lives, bad marriages, and tempestuous times in history. Guys, I thought of summarizing what I read about the dark history of La Peregrina. La Peregrina was originally found off the coast of Panama in the mid 16th century. The popular story claims that an African slave in the Spanish colony of Panama discovered it in 1513, and it was so impressive and beautiful that the slave was freed as a reward. There is no proof to back up this story about the pearl's discovery. However, what is said is that the pearl was turned over to Don Pedro de Tamez, who was the administrator of Panama at the time. Tamez gifted the pearl to the future king, Philip II of Spain, who in turn presented it as a gift to his bride, Queen Mary I of England, in 1554. Guys, now Queen Mary was notoriously known as Bloody Mary. She was a staunch Catholic, and during her reign, more than 200 Protestants were burnt at the stake for refusing to become Catholics. The marriage between Queen Mary and Philip of Spain was very difficult and unpopular also among the public. So we probably see the curse working here. Moreover, the attraction between Philip and Mary was very one sided. Mary was said to be very attracted to Philip, but Philip, who was 10 years younger, did not feel the same way. In one strange instance during the marriage, Mary experienced a phantom pregnancy. While the nation started celebrating the would be birth of Mary's baby, the reality was that there was no baby. Philip eventually left Mary. He had mistresses both in England and Spain, but Mary was loyal and continued to love Philip. Just a few years later, Mary would die and Philip would go on to marry twice. When King Philip II of Spain died, La Peregrina was paired with a famous diamond and made into a brooch. The pearl became a part of the Spanish crown jewels. La Peregrina remained as a part of the Spanish crown jewels for 250 years. It was worn for important events by queens of Spain. Queen Margaret of Spain wore the pearl in the early 1600s for a celebration of the peace treaty between England and Spain. Guys, I read about how bad luck hit her, and she died at the age of 26 while giving birth to her youngest child, Alfonso. After her time, the pearl passed on to Queen Isabel. Isabel was known for having an affair with her gentleman in waiting. Her lover was later murdered. After the death of Queen Isabel, who had a sad life, the pearl was given to Queen Mariana. Guys, I read about Mariana also having a very difficult life, with three of her children dying and the remaining two children suffering from physical disorders as a result of inbreeding. After Queen Mariana's death in 1696, the pearl seemed to have disappeared from history until it appeared again in 1813 during the invasion of Spain by Joseph Bonaparte. Napoleon's brother Joseph Bonaparte became the King of Spain in 1808, and the La Peregrina came into his possession. He suffered defeat. When he fled from Madrid during his defeat at the Battle of Vittoria in 1813, he took the pearl with him and gave it to his nephew, Napoleon III, who was in exile in London. Napoleon III faced financial trouble So the pearl seems to have given every one of its owners very bad luck. Guys, due to his financial issues, Napoleon III sold the pearl to an aristocratic English family, the Duke of Abercorn. During the Duke's possession, the pearl got lost at least two different times, once in Windsor Castle and the second time in Buckingham Palace. La Peregrina was auctioned at Sotheby's London in 1969. Famous Hollywood actor Richard Burton bought the pearl for 37,000 US dollars for his wife Elizabeth Taylor as a remarkable and one of a kind Valentine's gift. Both Burton and Taylor adored the La Peregrina. Elizabeth Taylor has written in her memoirs that once her cherished pearl had been chewed by her puppy. She says, I just casually opened the puppy's mouth, and inside his mouth was the most perfect pearl in the world. It was, thank God, not scratched. Her words. Elizabeth Taylor loved the pearl and wore it many times, and it's believed that the curse of the pearl even affected her own marriage with Richard Burton. Elizabeth and Richard lived a lavish and extravagant life, but they both had a drinking problem and would fight tumultuously throughout their marriage. They were given the nickname the Battling Burtons. Their fights were seen in both public and in private. There is a belief that the fights became worse and violent, and their problems rose to a height after she started wearing the La Peregrina pearl. The fights were so legendary that fans of the couple would even pay to hear them fight. Their fighting involved TVs being broken in hotel rooms and the rooms being trashed. Elizabeth became intensely addicted to pills, while Burton resorted to uncontrolled drinking and having affairs. They were divorced in 1974, only to remarry in 1975 and divorce again less than a year later. According to numerous researchers whose views I read, the Burton's life became unbearably miserable due to the curse the pearl had brought on them. Elizabeth Taylor treasured the pearl until her death in 2011. Later that same year, Christie's Auctions sold the pearl for more than US dollars 11,800,000 to an anonymous buyer. So, guys, despite the curse of La Peregrina, it probably never ever will lose its value. Don't you think? That's it from me tonight, guys. See you again soon. Good night.